hundreds of floor speeches. Believe me, it's going to be easy to find something to take out of context and hold it against me. And then I put the question back to them. If Abraham Lincoln or Alexander Hamilton were alive today and engaged in politics, would they blog or not? Think about it. What were the Federalist Papers? Well, okay, certainly the question, I'm not asking the question of a group of Pitzer students where I'd say, what was the Federalist Papers? None of you know what they were, right? What I'm insinuating is that the Federalist Papers were the technological equivalent of the blog today, right? That's really what they were. And so I would submit to you that some of our political heroes as Republicans, Hamilton, Lincoln, would have been blogging today were they around. And so, with that as my defense, my staff kind of backed off and gritted their teeth and hoped for the best. And so far, so good. I don't think I've embarrassed myself too much with my online musings. But I do believe that it's helped create a reputation as someone who's very accessible. Generally speaking, if you email me, you're going to get me so far. I can't vouch for it a year from now. In fact, funny story, when this whole controversy over are we going to raise taxes and if so, how much came up, I got this one bit of hate mail that stuck with me because it constituted a threat. Basically said, if you vote for a tax increase, I'm going to track you down. Which is a threat. That's an actionable threat. If you say that to a politician, that means the politician needs to tell the sergeant at arms, hey, please track this IP address, find out if this person is really unstable or if they have a long history of cannibalism or something. By the way, would it be cannibalism if someone like that ate a politician?
Not if he's a lawyer.
Unless he himself was a lawyer as well. Right, exactly. Thank you for that. That's good. So I wrote back to the guy and I said, number one, sir, it is not very helpful to write to elected officials in this manner because you're not really going to get, you're not going to get more. You're not going to make a convincing case. Number two, what you wrote to me is an implied threat and could get you in trouble. Number three, as a recently retired Army Lieutenant Colonel, if you did track me down and find me, I would kick your ass. Unless, of course, you are a Marine, in which case I would mess you up really bad before you killed me. And then I posted this on my Facebook, removing his name and his email address. And of course, the uproar, with all the Marines going, yeah, you're right, and all the Army guys going, quit giving the Marines a bigger head. Air Force guys weighing in saying, yeah, well, we just bomb them at 30,000 feet and kill everybody. And so the guy writes back, which always happens 95% of the time when I get these wacky emails. The person writes back totally apologetic. Oh, I had no idea that you would actually read your own email. And I was just so frustrated and angry and, so then I, of course, emailed the Sergeant at Arms and said, call off the dogs, I think we're okay. So that gives you an idea of kind of the life that a politician leads. About a year or two ago, I completely embarrassed myself in my neighborhood, my quiet neighborhood in Irvine, because this box showed up on the doorstep, about this big. And the box was kind of bursting a little bit at the seams. It was bigger. Diane says it was bigger. It showed up with a forklift on a pound cake. And the address was correct, but the name was incorrect. And we did a quick Zava search and used other means and found that no one with that name has ever lived on our street. And yet it had the correct address. And then Diane backtracked to the mailboxes, etc., that sent it. No record of who sent it. And now I'm starting to think, oh, great. he's an intelligence officer, was how to recognize bombs. So I'm thinking, oh, great. So I had to call up the sergeant. Okay, well, we're calling law enforcement. And so before you know it, Irvine's finest bomb squad is there. They tape off both ends of our street so no one can drive by while the Devore household is in danger of leveling the neighborhood. And they take care of the box. And we found out that it was a box of rare and ancient books that somehow got sent to us by mistake by perhaps some person that was dyslexic or something. So, but that again is an example of what it's like to be an elected official, where you have these crazy things. In fact, the last crazy thing story, at least that I can remember right now, is that yesterday, remember how I told you I'm being served with this federal lawsuit? Well, yesterday I'm up in the Bay Area campaigning. I was speaking to the American Nuclear Society, and my iPhone is almost dead. I'm down to maybe 10% power because I only brought the cord to charge it up at night, and I was using it too much during the day, and I didn't bring my cigarette lighter, charger. So I get this brief message from my wife saying that there is a strange person outside the house that's tried to say hi to us. That basically knocked at the door and said in kind of broken English, "Charles!" and had all these papers. And Diane's like, "He's not here right now. Close the door." And so he's outside calling people and using his cell phone like a walkie-talkie, and my girls are surreptitiously creeping over the porch overlooking the road and taking pictures of his license plate and calling the Irvine Police Department and saying, we have this odd person. I'm talking to the next door neighbor. Has someone come to your house with a bunch of papers? No. It was the process server trying to serve me my federal lawsuit papers. He hasn't found me yet. So if someone walks through the door and goes, "Charles!" It's Don Henley's guy trying to come to get us. So that's just some of the humorous aspects of this life of politics that we live in. Technology, what has it done for us? Well, we've gotten some good earned media, as I've mentioned before. A couple of months ago, I was featured on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. And my only complaint is I was not above the fold. Rod Blagojevich was above the fold. He had just been impeached or convicted. I can't recall.
Talk about earned media.
One of the Illinois houses. And I was below the fold. Damn Rod. My wife told me not to complain. That anytime I want to be indicted and be on the top of the fold. And maybe with the Henley lawsuit, I'll be on the top of the fold. They already have the pencil point drawing. The article is about our use of Twitter, which of course very few of you use because you're good students. And the article was written by the Wall Street Journal tech reporter who did a survey of all the different Republicans running for the U.S. Senate around the country and came to the conclusion that the one campaign that was making a full spectrum use of the new technology was our campaign. And shortly after that, we went back to Brooklyn, where I was the recipient of the equivalent of an Academy Award for Twitter. It's called a Shorty Award, which being 6'4.5", I think is really very ironic to win a Shorty Award. Shorty refers to the fact that when you update your status on Twitter, your microblogging update, you can have no more than 140 characters, hence a Shorty update. And so I was backstage chilling with MC Hammer. He was one of the MCs. Got some photographic evidence to prove it. And I think I was the only outward Republican who had won an award that evening. And when we were called up to go to the stage, and you had a very brief statement you could give, it had to be in the format of a Shorty, 140 characters. And so the crowd, they're young, liberal Obama supporters. You hear this low boo when I'm up receiving my award. And I just had this biggest grin on my face because I'm thinking, go ahead and boo. Because I won and you didn't. And so that experience, I think really kind of